It's been a minute since we've done a video, and I thought the best way we should start with a crazy story. So we're going to talk about Cleo Smith, and this story involves catfishing. Yeah, actual catfishing profiles. It's going to involve bratz dolls. Yeah, like toy bratz dolls. A camping trip in Australia, and the abduction of a 4-year-old little girl. Let me give you a little preview of what we're going to talk about today.
Cleo, my name's Cameron. How are you? Are you okay?
It's the moment police in Australia found a 4-year-old girl who had been missing for 18 days. Cleo Smith is suspected to have been abducted from a tent she and her parents were staying in while camping. Authorities say she was found alone in a locked home 46 miles away from the campsite.
This is the outcome we all hoped and prayed for.
Police have not yet said what led them to the house. They say a 36-year-old man is in custody and is being questioned in connection with the suspected abduction, according to a published report. Meanwhile, Cleo was taken to a hospital where she was determined to be unharmed and in good spirits.
Cleo, my name's Cameron. How are you?
So this is a story that we're going to be talking about today. It is truly great news and something we don't often get in the world of true crime, and that is when a child is able to be returned home. It is such great news, and I definitely want to share the story of Cleo Smith. This is only the second time I've gotten to cover a child who's been returned home. We did cover the story of Jamie Kloss that happened here in the United States. But yeah, this is such great news. So before we jump into the story, I want to give you guys a little bit of an update as regards to our channel. So if you're new here, my name is Melissa Ellen, and I do true crime videos. Go ahead and click subscribe. I kind of I pride myself on trying to do the best research that I possibly can. And one of the things I try to do is explain what's really happening in a case. A lot of times you'll see in the comment section and maybe on Facebook or in a news article, and people aren't understanding, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't the police looking in this direction? Why isn't this being considered? And especially when a case does go to trial, understanding, why are they being charged with this? Why isn't this being considered? Why isn't this person being brought in? And that's where we spend a lot of time trying to understand. Even when we don't agree, I want to understand what's happening in the legal system, because the only way you can make change is if you actually know what's going on. So that is something we do talk about a lot here. So click subscribe. If you are not new here, hi, welcome back. I love you. Let's talk really quick. I'm going to try to do this as fast as I can, but I am going to put this right here at this part of the video. So if you don't know me, or you do know me and you don't want to know where I've been, you just want to jump right into the video, here's your timestamp. If you don't want to hear anything that's been going on with this channel, I totally understand. Skip right on ahead. Here is your timestamp to get directly into the story about Cleo. So skip right here. As quick as I can. I've been with you guys now for almost 3 years. And in that time, I have had to take some breaks. And this last break was extensive. And I tried to come back and I wasn't ready. And I know a lot of people talk about that. And I don't know how far you guys get involved with other people. I just only know where I'm at in my situation. And I feel really close to a lot of you guys. You have messaged me. You're just freaking awesome. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So I want to just be upfront with you guys and tell you what I have been dealing with that I don't like to talk about, but that I've gotten a lot more comfortable talking about in the best way that I can deliver it. I was in a domestic violence relationship for 9 years. I know that I've mentioned a little bit about that, but I've never been honest with how bad it was. But it was bad. It was violent. I was trying to just let it go. But recently I had my injuries that I sustained have caused me some issues now. I've been returning to the doctor, and they're doing all these tests and seeing all the doctors. It's been overwhelming. When my injuries happened in the past, and I'm talking broken knee, separated shoulder, bruises, it's broken everything. It's bad, okay? I went through a lot, and I don't know if it was the time. I don't know what it was. But every time I went to the doctor, I remember coming up with these big stories in my head of what I was going to tell the doctor what happened. Like, oh, I was hanging up a picture frame and I fell, or, oh, I tripped on my dog's leash. I came up with these big elaborate stories to tell the doctors because I was so afraid that they were going to call CPS on me. And I don't know, because my first thought is always my son, because that's what happens. I've had CPS called on me because I was being abused. So when I would go to the hospital, I would come up with these big elaborate stories, but nobody really ever asked. Nobody asked. They just said, okay, no problem. I didn't think anything of it. I just thought that's how it was. And this last year, I've been dealing with another injury, which brought problem with this injury, and it's been interesting because I've had almost every X-ray tech, every doctor, every nurse, in some way or another, ask me if I'm okay, ask me if I'm in a bad relationship. And I finally just broke down crying to this random tech, and it was just like, I wish of every fiber of my being somebody had asked me back then. Because now I'm safe. I am so safe. I am in a good place in my life. There's nobody's harming me that way. And it's just hard. And I can't go back, and I don't know what I said, or I can't blame anyone because it just is what it is. But it brought it all back. So this last year has been really difficult for me. I know you guys know that I lost my mom, and then I lost my grandma. Just a lot of COVID-related stuff. And then it's just been really hard. And then when that came up and I realized that my old injury had came back, and then having people care and ask me if I'm okay. And then now I'm in therapy, which I wasn't in therapy before. And so having a therapist asking if I'm okay and like walking me through like how to process everything, it's, there's something about having people care about you that really matters. And I know how much people cared about me when I was going through it, but I blocked it out. So let me just get to the point to say that for the last 6 years, my ex-husband has continued to harass and stalk me online. He was charged with a felony for stalking because he continued to violate the restraining orders over and over. I think there were 5 charges for violating the restraining order. I have been dealing with all of this while being on YouTube and being completely silent about it. My ex-husband has continued to make threats of harming himself in order to get other people, not me anymore. I will say that I am finally at the point where he won't technically come to me directly. Finally, it took over 5 years to get him to stop coming to me directly. And now I'm livid. I am more livid than I've ever been in my entire life because I finally restricted him and blocked him so much from harassing me that I know for a fact that he's harassing other people. I'm pissed. I'm pissed about it. But I'm not going to do what I was doing before. I was always so afraid that if I told anybody what I had been through, that I would be judged. You know, CPS knocked on my door. I was charged by CPS with failure to protect my child. I don't even know why I was charged with CPS back in 2012 for failure to protect my child because I was in an abusive relationship and I went back. On everything in my life, that's exactly what happened, and that's exactly why I was charged with it. Nothing happened to me. I don't know what record that's in. I mean, it was just a social worker who sat in front of me and told me that. It was the worst experience of my life. All it did was make sure I never called the police again. I never told a soul. I kept it all to myself and kept it all hidden. And since then, even though I've been safe for the last 6 years, I have sole custody of my son. I have everything I need in this world to stay safe, and that man cannot come near me. I still was always so worried. And I want to break that. I don't want other women to live like that. Speak your truth. Be honest. Tell what's going on. Get out. How that has to relate with my channel, I don't even think I need to fully explain. If you've ever been stalked or harassed or had someone, you guys, I don't know how to explain it. You wonder why I do this YouTube, but it's also like, it's been I will overcome this. I will be on camera and I won't care if you're on the other end of watching me. I will make these videos because I can and I want to and I will. But it's also been the hardest thing in the entire world. I love making these videos for you guys. I love researching. I love looking up what we could do to help. I have so many ideas of what I want to do, and I cannot spend another day afraid to make a video because every time I sit down in this chair and I look at myself, I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm going to say something that somehow is going to trigger that person to harm me again. I'm scared that somehow it's going to make him think that he can contact me. And that might seem crazy, but that's what I was dealing with. That first blog post I wrote on my blog and said, I want to move on. I want to feel better. I want to be okay because, I blame myself sometimes for not protecting my son better. And my ex-husband contacted me with a criminal restraining order in place. That's what I've been dealing with. So I no longer will be quiet. It makes me feel good to say this right at the beginning of my video. It's not a fear anymore. It's done. It's out. It's been said. I am here to help any woman. Anything you guys want to know, if you want some tips, you want some advice, I'm here for you. I can answer your questions now because sometimes you guys email me and you need help, and I'm so afraid to say what I've been through. I'm so afraid to say that I've dealt with CPS. I'm afraid to say I've been arrested. I was arrested once. Yeah, I was fighting for help. I was fighting, man. I was defending myself with every fiber of my being. But yeah, I got arrested, went to jail. It's fine. I wasn't actually charged. What do you call it? I was arrested for a felony, but I was never charged because it was self-defense, whatever you want to say. Yeah, I'm not going to be scared of it anymore. I want you guys to know these are the real ramifications of staying in a domestic violence relationship. And you need to get out if you are in one. There's my Melissa talk for you guys. I love you. And let's go and jump into the damn video already. All right, so let me tell you what happened with Cleo Smith. The name Cleo Smith is a name that we're all going to know for a very long time. Cleo Smith is going to be the name that we talk about every time there's a missing child. Every time that a child is abducted or goes missing in the woods, we're going to think, let's hope it turns out like Cleo Smith and that she's returned home to her family. This is only the second time I've gotten to cover a case where a child was taken and then returned home safely. So I'm very happy to talk about this case, and I really hope that we can remember Cleo's name and remember that there is hope when a child does go missing. Because this is a perfect example of a case where if you look at the comments section and the hate that was coming to the family, it really makes you pause into the next case with how we address people that we think could be involved. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about Cleo. So as I mentioned, Cleo was 4 years old and she disappeared on October 16th of 2021. Her and her family were camping in a campground? We're camping in a campground in the area of Western Australia. I'm going to insert a clip of a video from a guy here on YouTube. I think it's Vet in a Van, and he was in the area visiting, and I think he pronounced it Quaob Blowhole Campground. And just a little overview of the area. Lots of water, lots of hiking, lots of trails. It's large. It's absolutely breathtakingly beautiful area. And this was an area that Cleo's family was very familiar with. Her mother is Ellie Smith, and Ellie worked in a hair salon. And then the man that was with them is going to be described as Ellie's stepfather and Ellie's husband. But I'm just not sure if they're actually married. And I don't even see how this is really important. The way that I just said that is described as, that makes you think that it means something. That's going to be really important here in a little bit as we go through this story, because the way that words come out can make people think it means something. So Jake Glidden was Cleo's stepdad. I'm just not sure if Jake and Ellie were technically married. Now, Jake and Ellie had been together for a while, and they also had a daughter of their own, and that was a little girl by the name of Isla. And Jake works for a mining company. Now, the four of them had gone on this trip, and it's described that Ellie and Isla had been on together. And so maybe they hadn't been to this area in a while, but this was definitely an area that the parents were very familiar with, and they had been camping at quite often. It was an hour from their home, and they made the trip up there that night of October 15th, 2021. From what I can gather, they arrive at the camping site kind of later in the evening. There's not a lot of any witnesses that came forward that actually saw Cleo when they arrived because of the timing. So there was initially questions about whether or not Cleo had actually even gone on the trip. I think that is a question investigators obviously had at first. Everyone has to consider this possibility. Did this family go out on this camping trip and then stage a disappearance? And that was thoroughly investigated. What they were able to do is, I'm not sure if it was a surveillance system in the area that had video or just audio, something to do with birds. I'm not exactly sure what they were using because it's just still new in the case. They were able to pick up Cleo's voice, so it was obvious to investigators that Cleo was there at the campground. So they're there. So now they've verified that Cleo's there. Then it was reported to media that there is some sort of an incident with the family at 1:30 in the morning. Remember how I said these terminologies are so important? This further caused a lot of trauma to the family, a lot of accusations, a lot of belief, like, what was this incident that happened at 1:30 in the morning? Because it's reported there was an incident at 1:30 in the morning, and then the family reported the little girl missing at 6:30 in the morning. So now you're like, what happened? Cleo just woke up and asked for a glass of water. So they're on this camping trip. They're sleeping in this large tent. Now, I think a lot of us are familiar with how tents are, with the ones with the rooms. And this was a large tent that had 2 rooms that had a divider in the middle with a large zipper from the ceiling to the floor. And one room had one bed and another room had the other bed. The parents, Jake and Ellie, are sleeping on one air mattress in one room. They've then completely zipped the zipper, and Cleo and her sister Isla are sleeping on the other air mattress. And it is reported that at 1:30 this incident happened. Now, according to Ellie and Jake, Cleo simply woke up at 1:30 in the morning, let her mother know that she needed some water. Her mom got her some water and then put her back to bed. Checked on the baby and went back to sleep. There wasn't an incident. This was a normal part of parenting that took place, a very responsible part of parenting that took place. At 6:30 in the morning, they awoke and immediately noticed that the zipper between the 2 rooms was completely unzipped. At that point, there's a lot of kind of understanding what they were feeling. I'm going to play you a clip really quick from Ellie and Jake. I want you to watch this, and I want you to remember they did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong at all whatsoever. And these videos were analyzed. A lot of people felt that they were involved. When Ellie is asked, what do you think when you opened your eyes and you see that the zipper's unzipped and your daughter's gone? And she's like, what could you think? And watching that, I want to remember that every time I see a response from a parent, we try to analyze them, and that anybody could say what they want from that. Did it seem like she could have been innocent? Did it seem like she could have been guilty? It's just really important to remember that everyone reacts so differently, and this was a devastated family. So let me go ahead and show you, play you the first clip that was played, their first interview that they did with the news in regards to Cleo being missing. Now, everything that was done that morning, I'm going to link down below a lot of articles. I think it is very informative. And if you are into true crime and understanding how searches happen, it's very informative information. Obviously, I don't need to repeat a lot of it back to you because Cleo did not wander off. But that was what police immediately considered. Did the little girl wander off? And a complete and thorough search was done in the area. They completely made sure, I don't know how many times I can say that, but it was very obvious that they were flying people in, they were driving hours away to get in assistance from all over, right into that area, immediately trying to search for her, and they found nothing in regards to her. Now, what they figured out, though, was these are the things that made them immediately concerned. Not only was Cleo missing, her entire adult-sized sleeping bag was missing. A very large sleeping bag was missing. Again, there was a lot of questions about the family at that point, because how did you not hear a sleeping bag going out of the tent? But I need you to remember, if you've ever been camping, you have to go to sleep hearing noises. So once you're asleep, it's not unheard of to sleep through some noises because you've adjusted yourself to sleep through some noises to get to sleep. And again, this happened. So every time we say to ourselves, I don't understand how a child could have gone missing out of a tent, just remember it did happen. So they were very concerned, police, with understanding. And of course, once they were able to verify that Cleo was in fact there, that it did happen. She somehow got out of that tent, her and that sleeping bag. The other thing that they realized is that the zipper that went from ceiling to floor was incredibly too high for Cleo to have unzipped it. It was unzipped all the way to the ceiling. It was very obvious that it could not have been Cleo who had unzipped the zipper because the resting place of the zipper was all the way at the top, which was a height she wouldn't have been able to reach. Now, while searching, police were obviously looking for the adult size sleeping bag that Cleo had been in. That item has never actually been recovered. While in the area, some of the things that they were asking people who had been camping in the area or traveled to that area is they were asking a lot of people about their shoe size, what kind of shoes they had, what size was their foot. So that was a kind of an inkling to a lot of people up front that maybe the police did have some information in regards to a footprint. Again, that's still just a theory that's out there because we're not sure exactly how police ended up getting to finding Cleo. Another thing that they were asking around was looking for cars that had been in the area. There was surveillance of cars entering and exiting the area, but there was quite a few cars that they were trying to track down. There's quite a few people that they were trying to track down, but again, the investigation was quite thorough with them trying to look at everyone who had been in the area that was known. There was also a focus on child predators in the area. All of them were looked into thoroughly. They were looking at everywhere they'd been and looking for them on camera. So this was something that was done right away. Let's find out what really happened though. On November 3rd at about 1:30 in the morning, Cleo Smith was located. Police knocked down the front door of a home and found in a locked room Cleo Smith in a home by herself.
You got it? I got it.
Hey, Bobby.
Bring the camera in.
Hey, come here. Come here. I've got you, Bobby.
What's your name?
You're alright.
What's your name? What's your name, sweetheart?
My name is Cleo.
Your name
You're all
is
right.
Cleo.
Hello, Cleo.
And they made an arrest of a 36-year-old man. The man that they arrested was Terrence Darrell Kelly, a 36-year-old man. Now, here's the deal. That home was minutes away, minutes from the home of Cleo. Her home, not where they were camping. Where they were camping was an hour from their home, but this man lived near them. I said at the beginning, this case had to do with catfishing. Now, that's where Terrence Kelly's online social media profiles come into play. All of his reasoning, we have no idea. Everything from here is a lot of speculation. These profiles existed, so that's going to be fact, but why and what he was doing with them, no idea. He had been living with his grandmother this entire time, up until this last year when his grandmother passed away. So the theory is either he was online living this fake lifestyle, maybe it's a mental health issue, maybe it's what he does, and then when his grandmother passed away, he tried to replace that friendship by taking a child. The Cleo Chloe name, the bratz doll, Cleo, all of that could be a possibility. Or he was a sadistic monster who was waiting for the opportunity to take a child and waited until after his grandmother passed away. All of that will come to light in time. All we know is he had these fake profiles online, and they were emulated after the Bratz. His name online was Bratz DeLuca, and he had a wife, he had these daughters, and the conversations that they engaged in online were weird. They don't make any sense. They're not a normal conversation for a father-daughter. However, they are a conversation that would be had in like a BDSM kink world conversation, but not typically on Facebook. I don't understand. I don't know. I just want to let you guys know, like, I've looked at all of it. We can have a conversation down in the comment section. I've looked at it. I've thought about all of these different options. I'm not sure what he was doing. I'm not sure how long he had been stalking Cleo to take her, but I feel that he was. There's no way that he was only a couple miles away from them and he took her in the middle of the woods an hour away from her family home. So now I will also say this. There is some current information that is coming out. It looks like he's been assaulted in the prison and he's being transported to the maximum security. And my first thought was, okay, since Cleo didn't look like she had been physically harmed, I am totally speculating, okay? And he was obsessed with dolls. The hope was that maybe he was a troubled individual who actually just wanted to make a friend. You know, it's like we just, all this while these dreams we make up in our mind from these shows that we've seen, and we hope that that's what it was. But it doesn't appear that that's what's going to come out, because in court, Terrence was really vicious and vile. He was yelling at people for being there. He was yelling at people in the audience. He seems like a very mean and angry man. And that's, so I don't know what we're going to find out about Cleo's time with him. It's all very much up in the air. What we know is that when she was found, she was in a room that was filled with bratz dolls. It looked clean and tidy. There was a bed. There was some sort of brace on the bed, maybe like a bandage. We don't know if she had been held in any way. Again, that's for trial. We don't know. I just am so, I think everyone was in complete shock when they saw how like mean he was in court. I think they thought he was going to be kind of quiet, and he wasn't, and makes you very scared about how he might have treated Cleo. When police found Cleo, she was at that home by herself, and he was in his car and was arrested in his car. We'll have to find out what he was doing at that time. We also don't know if anyone else was involved. There was an issue with the news where they falsely identified the wrong person. That caused a very big issue for a man in the area by a similar name. And yeah, he got put across the news as being the man that took this little girl, and it wasn't him. So yeah, that's what I have for you guys in regards to the case of Cleo. I'm kind of going to cut it off right there, because everything from here is just really, we don't know what's actually factual yet. So again, I want to thank you to the podcast. My name is Cleo, True Crime Society. You can join there or follow them on Facebook. I will link everything for you down below. There's a couple of news stations in Australia that cover this case very closely as well. I will link everything from them down below as well. Drop a comment, guys. I'm so curious. Do you guys know anything about bratz dolls? Does this mean anything? How does bratz dolls with a daddy BDSM kink thing fit into the bratz dolls? How would they be a family? Anyways, if you guys know anything about that, be careful with your words. You don't want to get flagged and kick off YouTube. But yeah, I'm kind of curious what the heck could that all mean? Because at the end of the day, in this case, Cleo is safe. And we do have a child that's been returned. And so we can have a little bit more of a conversation, because sometimes it's so hard to talk about all of the possibilities, because we don't want to disrespect a past victim or a victim we don't know where they're at. So anyways, that's my opinion. Let's drop it down below. Let's talk. This video, I have been recording it all day on purpose. I've wanted to stop a couple of times. I'll be very honest. I have wanted to give up. My camera has stopped. My dogs have come in. The kids have come back from school. My honey's home. Like, it just, everything. A lot of mistakes, a lot of mess ups, and I'm glad to be back. I've loved you guys. I've missed you very much. So we haven't done this in a while. Let me end this video by saying thank you very much for being here, and do me a favor, hug your babies and hug your loves. Life is literally precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. Do not take anything for granted. I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
I'm just good at caring too much. I'm just good at caring too much.